Hastings. I'm Tom Wright. Welcome to another In Studio, and with me is a familiar face on HCTV, a friend to all of us on HCTV, Mr. Logan Martin. Welcome back to the studio, Logan.
Thanks, Tom. I'm happy to be here.
You know, the last time you were here, did a lot of filming here with Word on the Street, a very popular show back in the day.
Yeah, great memories in this place. I was talking to some staff before I came over, and it feels like coming home. I know all the guys in studio, and to see you again, it's a bunch of warm fuzzies here back in studio. So thanks for the invite.
Well, yes, and we had a big reason to invite you. This guy here just got hired as the city administrator for the city of Rosemount, just our neighbor over there, and so it's very exciting, big news. And here to talk all about that and catch up on what you've been up to since 2002.
Yeah.
So first of all, let's hear about this hire. Congratulations on that, by the way.
Yeah.
Tell us the story about how you got the news and your reaction to it.
Yeah, you know, I was recruited by an executive search firm to apply for the job, and the former administrator was retiring at the end of the calendar year, and I think the recruiter thought that I might be a good fit for the position, and asked me to apply for the job, and I chose to do that. Really not looking to move. I was very happy in Bayport. Had a wonderful chance in Bayport. I don't know. Maybe we'll get to my history a bit later if you want to. So I was loving Bayport and learning a lot, and we were doing great things there. But this was one of those once in a career opportunities that I really couldn't pass up, and so decided to throw my hat in the ring, and ended up going through the pretty rigorous interview process.
Yeah, tell us about that process. What did they do?
Yeah, it was intense. So
they had like an archery competition.
No archery and no like mile run or anything, because
okay.
I would have gotten vetted out almost immediately on that. But no, you know, the recruiter did an initial round of ferreting down the candidate pool down to about a top 10. We went through a personality profile, one of those color wheel profiles where you get labeled a color. Turns out I'm sunshine yellow as my dominant color, which means that I'm surprise, surprise, I'm an extrovert. And right, the huge shock of in the history of HGTV, an extrovert who's an optimist and a dreamer and a blah blah blah. And so, anyways, so the council had an idea, I think, of what kind of a person they wanted, and so they asked him to do that color wheel profile and kind of figure out who to bring back to the council. So the council selected off that list of 10, a set of top 4. The top 4 of us got brought back for a 2-day, pretty intense interview. First day was like a noon to 8 p.m. thing, where we had lunch with staff and did a tour of the city and had an open house with the public, so they could come, you know, meet us and throw rocks at us or whatever. And then came back that next morning. And then did a panel interview with about 10 or 12 resident leaders, and then a second interview with the council. So about 4 or 5 hours again that morning, and then they deliberated that afternoon, and I got the call that Saturday afternoon. So a 2-day intensive process, and really honored to have come out on top as a selected candidate. And so then I started on January 3rd, so I think we're about 6 weeks in here, and all is well.
Yeah, so how is it going so far? I know you just started, but so far so good?
So far so good. You know, as everybody knows, starting a new job is difficult, and learning the way that the city is laid out, both from a geography standpoint, but then also kind of in our business, who are the power players, who are the people that we should be talking with, who are the big employers in town, who are the kind of vision leaders that we need to be, that I need to know on a first name basis. And so I've been having tons and tons of chances to meet those folks and have coffee with this person or lunch with that person, what have you, just so they know who I am, they know that I've got an open door, and I'm excited to be in town and ready to work with them. So been doing a lot of that, and then a lot of listening, right? I mean, I was just joking with a staff member about this the other day. You know, you would never come into the community or the organization and just instantly make it Logan's way, right? I've been kind of listening to what's going on. I'm a sponge right now, and then as I get my feet wet and understand the lay of the land, then I can start to give my impressions or my view of the world maybe. So no earth-shattering changes, and the city really doesn't need any. And I was at a youth commission meeting yesterday afternoon where there's about 15 high school students that are on a city-initiated commission, and they said, what did you want to fix about Rosemont when you got this job? And the answer is really nothing, right? I mean, Rosemont is growing. Rosemont's frankly exploding in a lot of fashions. So we're trying to keep going down the path that we're going. And then as I get situated, if there's things to improve upon, we'll certainly do that, and we're always looking to improve. But I wasn't hired to fix any glaring problems, and so just learning the lay of the land, and so far it's been wonderful.
And are you getting along with the mayor and the council? I know you have to work closely with them.
Yeah, they're a great group of people, and right now it's wonderful because they just made a decision to hire me on a unanimous basis, and so I think they're all still pleased about me. It's 6 weeks in. I don't think they're too frustrated with me yet, but it was actually quite interesting. That interview process that I just explained was the Friday and Saturday before the general election on November 6th or whatever it was. And one of the council members who just that weekend had made a choice to hire me was unelected at the general election. So I have a new council member who never got to see me interview, doesn't know really as much about me. We started on the same day, her as a council member and me as an administrator. And she's a wonderful lady, and we're working well together. But it was an interesting time to get hired in terms of it being right around that election and you know, having a change at the ballot on the council makeup that had just made a choice to hire me. But that's not an issue at all. And the other council member is still around on one of our commissions, and she's a great leader in town too. So yeah, they're a great group of people, a mix of long tenured council members, much like Mayor Hicks. Our mayor's been in town for about 15 years. A couple council members have been around for a long time, and there's 2 brand new council members. So this nice mix of long-standing council and then a young new council too. So so far they're just great people, and we're working great together.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Let's go back in time a little bit to get to the story on how you got to this point. I mean, Hastings graduate, 2002. So what path did you take in life? How did you get into public administration?
Yeah, it was a windy path, and maybe not too windy, but a couple of turns. So I went to Gustavus directly after Hastings High School. Graduated from Gustavus with a double major in political science and criminal justice. Initially went to Gustavus thinking maybe law school or government in general. Wasn't quite sure. Fairly quickly decided that government interested me more than law. And frankly, and I always say this is kind of a nerdy dichotomy, but government interests me a bit more than politics. So I would rather do good government work than sit and debate gun regulations or the death penalty with anybody. I'd rather work on government, and that's kind of how I've landed in this spot. And so coming out of Gustavus, unfortunately, you know, you pay all that money for a big degree, and I was told that really the government career path was twofold, state or federal. There was really this kind of missing third wheel of thousands of great jobs in local government. So I was, you know, along with about a million other kids, shaking a bachelor's degree in political science, saying hire me at the state capitol or hire me out in D.C. And I wasn't really looking to go to D.C., so I applied for a few jobs at the state capitol. Fortunately for me, didn't get any of them because that would have taken me down a completely different road. But because I hadn't really even considered local at the time, I was kind of lost. And so I ended up working in business for about a year and a half in the management training program at Enterprise Rent-A-Car, which was a great job for me. I learned that I wasn't going to be a salesman of rental car damage waiver, but it trained me and taught me wonderful customer relations skills, how to work a 40-hour week or more than a 40-hour week, what it's like to just have that consistency in your life that you kind of need coming out of college. And so that taught me a bunch of wonderful, great things. But again, like I said, I realized that rental car sales wasn't really my jam. Yeah. And so actually networked with a colleague a friend of mine from Gustavus who said, hey, I'm doing this local government thing. You should check it out. And one thing led to another. I applied for the Hamlin Master's Program and started out at Hamlin. One of my professors was the city administrator in Oakdale. He asked me to come intern with him for a year and a half during my grad school career, and the rest is really history. So frankly, a chance meeting at homecoming down at Gustavus where a buddy said, hey, check out local government, and the rest is history. And so loved it. I kind of instantly glommed onto it again, like I said, because it was a chance to do good government and not just sit in the ivory tower at the state capitol or out in D.C. And just dream about, you know, the Affordable Care Act or some big picture item. I've got buddies that do that and friends that do that, yeah. And that's great work, but that doesn't fill my bucket in terms of joy. And so this has really been my niche that I've really liked. And so that's how I landed there. And so after my internship at Oakdale, I got a chance to just sit with him and learn what it means to be a city manager, city administrator. And then after that, I was hired in the community development department in the city. So did about 6 years or so in community development where I did housing programs and redevelopment projects and demolition projects and stuff like that, and learned kind of a subject matter expertise. Basically, economic development ended up becoming my stream, and then from there went to Bayport, and then now here we are in Rosemont. So
yeah, Bayport. You know. And how much time did you spend in Bayport?
About 3.5 years.
3.5 years as the city administrator there in Bayport.
Yeah. Yep.
What did you learn in Bayport what are some of the key takeaways you had from your experience at Bayport?
Well, it was my first chance to be the one sitting in that chair,
Yeah.
the administrator's chair. I mean, I had sat near that spot and watched that spot and learned all about that spot, but it was my first chance to have a whole team of direct reports and this whole a 5-member council to kind of keep up to speed and informed. So it was trial by fire, quite frankly, and it was a wonderful place to be for that very reason, because it was a small staff and it was a smaller community. So I touched everything. One of the biggest projects that we did was a fire station while I was there, and so I was hired and told, okay, go build us a fire station. And so from beginning to end, land acquisition, grant acquisition, construction, and occupation of the building, I managed that project. In a city like Rosemont, I wouldn't be able to touch that project just because it's a bit larger. So really fortunate to have had that chance to be in a smaller setting and touch everything. And budget. We didn't have a finance director who did the budget. It was just me. So setting tax rates and setting the budget was all on my shoulders. And so wouldn't trade that experience for the world in terms of learning what it's like to touch everything. And then now getting to Rosemont, being a step further removed from the boots on the ground type stuff. Now I at least understand what those folks are going through, what they need out of administration or the city council to do their job correctly. I think it gave me a wonderful perspective on how to integrate with those folks. So.
And what would you say, bring it to Rosemount here, what would you say are the top items or key issues that you guys are facing right now?
Growth is the biggest one. And so the city at this point is really deciding how best to manage its future growth capability. And so for folks that are familiar with Rosemont, there's the Umore Park development in town, which is right sandwiched between Highway 42 and Highway 46. The University of Minnesota owns about 5,000 acres or so of land that they've been doing agricultural research on for a number of years. And so, everything from, what is the best food source for beef cattle to, what makes tomatoes not wilt in the wind or what have you. But they're starting to transition out of that research phase, and it's being used now for some temporary mining of certain minerals, sand, gravel, etc. When that mining operation is completed, the university will have a choice about what to do with that land, and that's a large swath of land in the city that will hopefully flip to a combination of residential development, commercial development, public amenities, etc. And so there's a few, when you drive through Rosemont on 42, kind of as you go under the 52 bridge, you see this wide open array of land. On the north side, south of the Flint Hills Resources, or when I grew up in Hastings, Coke Refinery, there's 2,000 acres owned by Coke Refinery or Flint Hills Resources right there. And then to the south of the road, there's 5,000 acres owned by the University of Minnesota. So all told, there's somewhere around 7,000 acres of land that is owned by two landowners that in the future, and we're trying to decide how near that future could potentially be, could get flipped to any number of things. So that's why when you see Rosemont's future population projections, right now it's 24,000. It could get, and it's supposed to get up to 40,000 in the next 16, 20 years, what have you. Wow. And that could happen faster or it could happen slower depending on just those two gigantic landowners and what they choose to do with it. So there are a few tracts of land that are not owned by those two folks that are still getting developed. We've been averaging about 200 single-family home permits every year, so building about 200 houses a year, which is in track with where we're supposed to go. But if we were to follow the Met Council's projections, we're probably supposed to build a bit faster than that. So residential development is a big component, but then also with that ability to decide how to develop and how to develop intelligently, we're trying to just figure out, where does commercial fit in that mix, and then where does general industrial fit in that mix too. With some of the heavy industrial that happens on Highway 55, there's a fair amount of industrial in Rosemont. So the question is, how much more industrial do we want? And so just really, that's a long-winded answer to say that kind of intelligent land use is really the biggest thing that's facing the city. And so what I've always said is kind of the new guy in City Hall, these are fun problems to have. We're not dealing with shrinking budgets or having to make hard staff or personnel decisions. We're deciding on what new and exciting land uses we can achieve. Public amenities is a big discussion. Parks and rinks and soccer fields. We're deciding when and where and how many to build, not do we have any money at all to build them. So these are fun problems to have. which is why I was excited at the chance for the job.
You had mentioned that you're not, ready put your stamp on this, but put the Logan stamp. But if you could describe that Logan stamp, what is your philosophy on how to run a city? What are your, or perhaps you could take it like what key principles you try to follow when making your decisions?
Yeah, the administrator in Oakdale was really my mentor on a lot of things, and I harken back to a lot of what I learned from him, and then I taken my own spin on things. But one of the things that he talked about that I wholeheartedly agree with is that it's really all about relationships, and back to that color wheel thing that I said before. As a sunshine yellow,
yes.
Right? For me, I think that so much of what we do can be accomplished through relationships, whether that's positive working relationships or, like I mentioned before, me getting out in the community and meeting those business leaders, so they know, if they know that I know Logan, and Logan's a guy that I can call, and Logan's a guy who's got an open door policy and is pretty approachable and wants to get things done. That cuts off so much of the work or the normal maybe blockades that happen in city government. So for me, I really try to focus on those relationships, and then in my seat too with city staff. I'm reading a business leadership book right now that talks all about how staff wants to be treated like members of the family, and I really do see City Hall like a big family. And so right now I'm working on that relationship too, and getting to know about their kids and their spouse and their dog, and those kind of things. Just if it's a 5-minute shooting the breeze conversation, allows them to work that much harder for the good of the city and to buy into that much more of what I'm preaching when I end up preaching about something. And so they want to work there. They're excited to work there. They feel supported when they're there. Those are the kind of things that I try to do. And for me too, I think so often government falls into the answer of kind of negativity or pessimism. And so, the Logan stamp or the Logan dust is usually a frame of optimism. I see, ways to get almost anything done if we truly want to get it done. And so I try to find the solution in kind of anything that's presented to us. And I know that's kind of maybe a fluffy answer, but so often, I was in a meeting this afternoon with a landowner that was expecting us to say that his project was never going to be possible, and my answer was, yeah, we can figure that out. Let's work through the regulations. Now, we're not going to throw the regulations aside, but government in the 21st century is going to need to be a bit more nimble and work through some of those issues to make things happen. So I think that's my long answer to that.
That was a good answer. You had said that you lean more towards government than politics, but is there any chance at all of you going to the dark side and running for public office someday?
No. I'll do the Michelle Obama thing. No, there's no chance that I'm running for election. No, I love what those folks do.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that they do it, and I love working with them. But I like being on the staff side and being in the dark. And the darkness of the the editing booth, right? Working on whatever. I don't want to be in front of the camera. As much as people might think that Logan from Word on the Street wants to be in front of the camera, I'd much rather just do the work and let them take the glory.
Speaking of Logan and Word on the Street, we do have I did a little digging. And decided to pull up this classic, and I think you folks will appreciate this. But we got a little fun clip to show here. Well, this guy, the city administrator of Rosemount, apparently doing some time travel.
Nice. Wow. Good.
No, this will be good for your career. Don't worry about it.
Oh, good.
It'll be good.
I've been waiting for it.
I was down by.
Oh wait.
Oh my God. It's Logan Martin from Word on the Street.
It is I.
What are you doing here?
I've come to you from the future in my time machine.
Okay. Why did you come from the future in your time machine?
I brought you this, a VHS tape.
VHS tape.
From the future?
From the future, the 2010 Rivertown Days episode of Word on the Street, to be exact.
Okay. Why is it on VHS?
It's from the future.
Okay, wait a minute, Logan. You came from the future to bring us something from the past?
Why didn't you just go the day after Rivertown Days and give it to us?
Time machine. Time machine.
Good stuff. You know how to make an exit, man. You know how to
Wow.
You know how to take the stage. Oh,
We
look
need
at that,
more
huh?
smoke machines for this interview.
Yes,
This
yeah,
is far
yeah.
too professional.
So perhaps, someday you could consider entering the city council meeting, in Rosemont there. You could come in a time machine,
I
just to get
would
their attention.
keep my resume polished if I choose to do that.
Yes, totally. Oh, good stuff though. That was a great show though. That was word on the street.
Oh, it was
good
a
times.
blast. If I had more time on my hands, I would love to keep doing it.
Oh, yeah.
And so, but that's why, I'm happy to be back anytime. But
Oh, yeah.
life gets so crazy.
Oh, yes,
But
yes.
no, that was such a blast. Such a blast.
Logan, thank you very much for coming in, and congratulations again
Thank you,
on your new job. That's very exciting. Hastings is very proud. And thank you for joining us in this in studio, Logan Martin, Hastings graduate, now city administrator of Rosemont. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.